Imagine finding out your mother was murdered.
And then almost 30 years later,
The case is still unsolved.
that's exactly what happened to Deborah Perry's 7 children.
Yeah, we're going to deep dive into her story today
Deborah's life and death.
and try to figure out just what happened to her,
Based on the podcast, The Deck.
which is a true crime podcast.
And they did a really good job in this one
Yeah.
of interviewing investigators
And family.
and people who knew her.
So we're going to try to piece this whole thing together.
Yeah.
So this all started back in October of '94
Right.
in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Police get a call
For a disturbance.
on this like quiet little cul-de-sac,
Yeah.
and they find
A 29-year-old woman
that
dead on the ground.
her name was Deborah Perry.
Yeah. And you can just picture it.
It's like a scene out of a movie,
4 people just standing there.
pointing at her body.
Pointing her.
It's kind of creepy, actually.
Yeah, it's eerie.
Yeah.
Definitely not a normal death.
And it gets even weirder because she was partially clothed.
Partially clothed.
And they found some strange stuff nearby,
Like what?
like men's underwear,
Oh, wow.
a used condom,
Interesting.
and a pair of sneakers.
That's so bizarre.
I know it's like a detective novel or something.
It really is.
So before we get into the investigation, though,
Yeah.
I think we have to talk about Deborah
Okay.
and her life,
That's right.
which by all accounts was pretty rough.
Yeah.
Like the deck goes into her childhood,
Mm-hmm.
growing up in New York City,
Okay.
and it sounds like just a lot of hardship.
Right.
Poverty,
No furniture.
alcohol.
Lack of supervision.
Yeah, and that can really affect a kid,
Absolutely.
like that kind of environment.
Shapes you.
Yeah.
For sure.
And they said she got into substance abuse early.
Right.
I mean,
Makes sense in that situation.
yeah, I think so.
And it all ties into her relationship with Danny Davis.
Oh, yeah.
Dan.
They met as teenagers.
And they were in love.
They were.
But they were also using drugs together. Uh-huh.
So they decided to relocate
To South Carolina.
for a fresh start.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and they had 7 kids together.
Wow, 7 kids?
But it seems like the problems followed them.
Yeah, you can't just outrun addiction
Yeah.
by moving.
Right.
You gotta address those underlying issues.
And so it seems like their challenges continued.
Yeah, and the strange thing is,
What's that?
after Deborah's kids went into foster care,
Okay.
we don't really know much about her life.
Oh, so there's like a gap.
A big one.
Yeah.
Which makes it even harder to figure out what happened to her.
Yeah, so let's get back to that crime scene.
Okay.
The deck really lays it out.
Does it?
Blood near her head.
Ah.
Clothing messed up, those
Right.
random items all over the
Or
place.
like a puzzle.
Right, and the investigators collected everything.
Okay.
The shell casings, the condom,
Okay.
the sneakers,
Right.
tire marks even.
Wow, they really did a thorough sweep.
Yeah, and the autopsy found that she was shot twice in the head.
Oh my goodness.
And they also found cocaine in her system.
So she was using before she died,
Seems like it.
which adds another layer to this.
It really does.
Trying to figure out if that played a role.
Exactly.
What was she forced to use?
Or was she a regular user?
Or did someone give her a laced dose?
So many possibilities.
There's so many questions.
And then there's the fact that some leads weren't followed up on.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, there was this guy
Okay.
who took a polygraph,
Mm-hmm.
and he seemed deceptive,
Oh,
but they didn't do anything about it.
what?
Yeah, and get this.
What is it?
That blood stain.
On the pants.
Yeah, they didn't test it for DNA
Back then.
back then.
Well, DNA technology wasn't as advanced.
I guess not.
I mean, it could have been huge.
Right, a total game changer.
But they missed that opportunity.
It's hard to believe they didn't test it.
It is looking back.
So where do we go from here?
That's a good question.
Were these oversights just because of the times, or did they mess up?
It's possible.
I think we need to explore these leads.
Yeah, let's dig a little deeper.
And we'll do that when we come back.
Sounds good to me. I mean, it makes you think, right?
It really does.
Like, what if they had that technology back then?
Yeah. What could they have found out?
I know.
But even without it,
Yeah.
there were still some pretty interesting leads.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, remember those pants?
The flowered ones?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those are weird.
So witnesses said they saw a guy wearing those pants.
Around the time of the murder.
Right.
Okay.
And Deborah's family thinks
Yes.
they might have belonged to a man named Gerald, who she was seeing.
Romantically.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it makes you wonder,
Were they his pants?
right? Or were they hers?
Why would she be wearing men's pants, though?
Maybe they weren't hers.
Or his?
Maybe it was someone else entirely.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
But if they were Gerald's,
Okay.
could it have been like a jealous thing?
Oh, a crime of passion? That's definitely possible.
And then on top of that,
Yeah.
You've got all these rumors.
Oh, there's always rumors,
Yeah.
especially with a case like this.
Yeah.
So what did you hear?
Well, one was about a relative
Okay.
who supposedly overheard a confession,
Wow.
but they were too afraid to say who it was.
That's crazy.
I know.
I mean, can you imagine?
Knowing that and not saying anything,
That would be so hard
it really would.
to keep that secret.
And then there's what Danny said.
Oh, yeah, Denny Davis.
Yeah, he said when he was in prison,
Huh?
he met a guy
Okay.
who claimed to know about the murder.
What did he say?
Well, this guy said Deborah was involved with drug dealers.
Drug dealers.
Yeah, named Milton and Polo.
Milton and Polo.
And that maybe it was a drug deal gone wrong.
That's interesting.
But it's hard to know if that's true.
Yeah, you got to be careful with prison rumors.
Right,
People talk a lot in there.
for sure.
But it does give us some context.
I think so.
Maybe Deborah was mixed up in some dangerous stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we know she had a history with drugs.
So it's not impossible.
Not at all.
But anyway, fast forward to 2009, and the case is reopened.
Really?
Yeah, because a new witness came forward.
Wow, that's huge.
Oh, no. So what happened?
Well, they finally tested the blood stain.
On the pants
Yeah.
for DNA.
It's about time.
I know, right?
So what did they find?
Unfortunately,
Oh.
it was inconclusive.
No.
Yeah, probably because the DNA was too degraded.
That's so frustrating.
I know, all that time.
And then the evidence is no good.
It's like time is the enemy.
It really is in these cases.
But they didn't give up.
Good.
In 2022, they tried something new.
What was that?
Familial DNA testing.
Oh, wow. So they were looking for relatives.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
But again, the DNA was too degraded.
Are you kidding me?
I know, another dead end.
It's like hitting a brick wall.
And to make matters worse,
What?
remember the underwear?
The men's underwear.
Yeah, they didn't retest it for DNA in 2022. You're kidding?
I'm not.
Why not?
I have no idea.
That seems like a huge oversight.
It really does.
Like, that's a key piece of evidence.
It's true.
They should have tested that right away.
But apparently they're trying now.
To test it?
Yeah. To see if they can get any usable DNA.
Well, hopefully they can find something.
I hope so.
It's a long shot, though.
It is.
But you never know.
It's worth a try.
Definitely.
This case shows you
Yeah.
that you got to be thorough
Absolutely.
and never give up.
You never know what could break the case open.
I mean, who would have thought, right?
Right.
That a pair of underwear could be so important.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But it just shows you.
Yeah,
You can't overlook anything.
absolutely.
Every detail matters.
Every single one.
And I guess it also shows you
What's that?
that technology can really help,
Oh, yeah.
even with these old cases.
Especially with cold cases.
It's like maybe they can find something new,
New techniques.
right?
It's amazing how far we've come.
It really is.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Back then, they didn't even have DNA testing.
It's true.
Now we can solve crimes from decades ago.
It's pretty incredible.
It is.
But while we're waiting for those breakthroughs,
Yeah.
I can't help but think about Deborah's family,
I know, it's heartbreaking.
what they must have gone through,
And still going through.
all those unanswered questions.
It'd be tough.
It's like a part of their lives is missing.
A big part.
And, you know, the deck really focuses on that.
Yeah, they talked to Deborah's daughter, Janetta.
Right.
She's amazing.
She is.
I mean, she's overcome so much
Yeah, she grew up without her mom,
and faced a lot of the same challenges.
but she broke the cycle.
She did.
She's doing really well.
She's a survivor.
But she still wonders,
About her mom.
yeah, about what her life would have been like.
If Deborah hadn't been murdered,
It's a question that probably haunts her.
I'm sure it does.
And she talked about having dreams.
About her mom.
Yeah, she said her mom comes to her in dreams, especially when she's pregnant.
Wow, that's so sweet.
I know. It's like her mom is still with her.
In a way, it's beautiful but also sad
It is.
because it shows how much she misses her.
And Deborah's sister, Jennifer,
Yeah,
she believes that Deborah wants her story told.
wants people to know what happened.
Yeah, and she even said
What?
that maybe Deborah had something to do with this podcast.
You mean like she chose this podcast to
Yeah.
tell her story?
It sounds crazy.
It does.
Who knows?
I guess anything's possible.
So where does that leave us?
Good question.
The case is still open.
Right?
There have been some setbacks.
The DNA,
Yeah.
the missed opportunities.
But there's still hope.
There's always hope.
Maybe technology will help.
Maybe someone will come forward.
It's important to keep these stories alive
Keep the pressure on.
because Deborah's family deserves answers.
They do.
And maybe someday they'll get them.
I hope so.
We all do.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, we really appreciate you listening.
And we'll be back next time with another deep dive.
Into a new case.
Until then.
Stay curious.